What's up, blockheads? Tammy from the block. Just wanted to come on here real quick and apologize. Kind of let y'all know what's been going on in our lives lately. Excuse the mess in the back. I've been neglecting my channel the last couple of weeks. We've had a lot going on in our lives. The first thing was Randy's brother passed away. He was just 52 years old. And so Randy had a very busy week last week with getting that arranged, and then we had the funeral for that on Monday. So that was tough for him. It was kind of a double-edged sword for me because it gave me the opportunity where I finally got to meet his sister who lives in St. Louis, meet his brother who lives in California, and spend some time with his other family who is here in Sioux Falls. And we got to host his brother here in our home, his brother from California. So that funeral was Monday. We had an issue with Braylon on Monday as well, which I'm not going to really address that right now. That'll probably come in a later video. And the last of the company left on Tuesday morning. Their flight left at 6:30 Tuesday morning to go back to California. So as I was getting ready to go to work on Tuesday morning, I got a text from my ex-husband that said, I was going to do this video with my mom or my other son, but I decided I'd better do it by myself so I could kind of try to keep myself together as I'm explaining this. My ex-husband sent me a text and said, "Is Christopher allergic to anything the paramedics need to know?" Now let me just first explain. I have 4 children. My oldest is Christopher. He's 27 years old. And then his love, my daughter-in-law, is Tracy. Okay. Then I have a 22-year-old son, Eric. And my daughter-in-law from him is Caitlin. 2 years ago, they lost their first baby, so we went through a tragedy of losing my first grandchild about 2 years ago. And then Caitlin and Eric have my grandson, Avery, and then we're going to have my granddaughter in January. So all my grandchildren are from my second son, Eric. However, I do have a step-granddaughter, Allegra, who's 10, from my oldest son, Chris. And then I have my third child is a girl, only one girl, thank goodness. She's Alexa. She's 16. She'll be 17 in November. And then I have Braylon, who's 7. All 3 of my first 3 kids are from my first marriage, of which I was with their father for 17 years. Okay, Braylon is from my second marriage. Anyways, my ex-husband texted me and said, "Is Christopher allergic to anything the paramedics want to know?" Okay, do you know what that does to a person? When that's all you're getting is a text that says the paramedics need to know. I text no right away, and then I tried to call, and I was going, oh my God, what's going on? Randy's up saying, what's going on? I'm like, I don't know. I was just up trying to get ready for work. I called my ex-husband's phone number. He didn't answer, so I hung up. I called again. He finally answered, and he said, the paramedics are here. My 27-year-old son, Christopher, rents my ex-husband, his dad's basement of his house. That's where he lives, him and Tracy. They live there in the basement. And he said, the paramedics are here. Christopher's having a seizure. And I said, you're kidding me. And I just started bawling. He said, no, I'm not kidding you. He said, is he allergic to anything? Which I'd already answered him in the text. I said, no, he's not allergic to anything. I said, I'm on my way. So I was screaming at Randy, telling him, Christopher's having a seizure. I knew something was wrong because I hadn't heard from my son in a couple days. So that just doesn't happen unless he's not feeling good or, you know. And I told Randy, I said, I knew something was wrong. He's like, slow down, settle down. Do you want me to go with you? I said, no. He's like, are you okay? And I said, no. And I just went out the door. So I was headed to my ex-husband's house. On the way there, Tracy, Christopher's fiance, I call her my daughter-in-law. I call them both my daughter-in-laws. They're forever in our family. Said, Christopher had a seizure. The ambulance is on the way to Sanford, so I diverted to go to the hospital instead of to where they live. I made it there before the ambulance did. So when they finally let me go back to the emergency room, my ex-husband was in there, Tracy, and then myself, and Christopher was just not himself. I mean, like, he was out of it. And Tracy had explained to me that he sat up in bed, he chugged like a bunch of water down, and then he laid back down, and then she felt him roll over on her, and she kind of nudged him and was like, "What are you doing? Get over." And then she looked over and saw that he was seizing. He was foaming from his mouth. She said his eyes were completely black, and she called 911. When the paramedics got there, he didn't recognize any of them. This is just all from what they told me because I wasn't there at that point. He didn't recognize any of them. They almost had to call the police because, when you have a seizure, you're combative. It's just something that happens when you have a seizure. And so they almost had to call the police, but his dad went and sat by him and said, "Hey, bud, will you go to the hospital with me?" And he said, "Yeah." And I guess Tracy had tried to put a shirt on him, and he threw it off 2 or 3 times. And so anyways, when I got to the emergency room, I was there, I think it was less than an hour. Tracy was on one side of the hospital bed with him, and I was on the other. And we were both just trying to talk to him because he still wasn't himself. He was really out of it. He didn't know the date. He just wasn't himself. And all of a sudden, we were just both talking to him, just telling him, it's going to be okay. We're going to find out why this is happening. And then he started going like this with his finger. And just looking at his finger like this. And we didn't think anything of it. And then all of a sudden he started like chewing, like gnawing, like this. And I was like, "Christopher, what are you chewing on?" Because I kind of went into mommy mode, because I knew he wasn't in his right mind after having a seizure. What was he thinking, and he was just chewing. And I said, "What are you chewing on?" And I thought maybe he had bit off a piece of the medical tape from one of his IVs or something. And I kept asking him, "What are you chewing on? What are you chewing on?" And I kept going like this to look in his mouth to see if he had anything in there because he clearly wasn't a 27-year-old man right at that moment. So then it was like Tracy and I's eyes caught each other. We looked at each other and like just looked at each other like something's not right. And I said, "Something's not right. Should we go get somebody?" And she said, "Yes." So she went out to get somebody. As soon as she went out, he started having a seizure right then and there while I was there. It was the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. I won't say that. I watched my granddaughter die. It wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen in my mouth. And I've seen another person have a seizure. But his entire face dropped. I could see his skeleton on the side of his face. There was the jerking and the seizure. It was a seizure, okay? It was a seizure. So you go into mommy mode, and I just kept finally somebody came in, and I said, "Please help him." I just kept saying, "Please help him, please help him." And then, it takes you back, like you think this is my little boy, even though he's 27, he's my oldest child, he's my little boy, and I just kept a hold of his head, and I just kept saying, "It's okay. They're going to help you. Mommy's here. Don't be scared." You just do that. You just do that. It doesn't matter if he would have been 50 and I would have been 71, you just do that. So then they shot him in the arm with the Ativan, I think it's called. And then after, he bit his lip. The male nurse that was there later told us that he's seen seizure patients actually bite their entire tongue off. But he just bit his lip. He was real combative after, so it took like about 4 nurses to kind of like try to get him to calm down until the medicine kicked in, put oxygen on him. So at that point they said, we're admitting him to the neuro critical care unit. This is 2 seizures, basically within an hour. We got to find out what's going on. So he got out of the hospital yesterday. He didn't recognize us for a while. They'd ask him the date. He'd say March 2017. But that's all part of it too. We just wanted to make sure his memory came back completely. So anyways, we had blood work, electrolytes, drug screens, blood counts. We had a CAT scan, we had an MRI, we had an EEG, we had an EKG, everything. I mean, everything that they do, infection cultures, all of it. So basically, everything came back fine. Everything, no, not medically, you know. So basically, Christopher's a hard worker. He basically had worked 80 hours a week, and then, you know, this weekend went to a Nebraska Huskers game, you know, went out with some friends, you know, just, he basically, we think is probably a seizure from sleep deprivation, not getting enough sleep, not taking care of himself, that type of thing at this point. I mean, he's still going to have to be monitored and follow up and make sure there isn't any underlying medical issue, but thank God, it was a wake-up call for him, I think, that, you know, look, I got to take care of myself. I'm not 18 years old anymore. I can't work 80 hours a week or whatever and then, you know, go out and have a good time and do this and that. And, you know, you're 27 now. you get older, you have to take care of yourself. And so it was just really scary, really, really scary. And I just want to thank all of our friends, all of our family, all of my coworkers. My mom rushed here. She lives in Green Bay, which is an 8-hour drive without stops. She rushed here from Green Bay. She's still here. She'll leave tomorrow. It's Friday today. I had to use an emergency week of vacation, my last week of vacation for the year, to get through this. But you know what? You just have to take care of yourself, you guys, and you have to hold your family tight, and you have to always be there for each other, and don't sweat the small stuff. You know, it's just things like this can happen, and when you see your child having a seizure in front of you, and I thought he was dying. I honestly thought he was dying. But guess what? Now he's his old self. He went to work today working a double shift. Yeah. He was being angry and stubborn and saying, I didn't ask to be here. And you know what? Tracy told him, you know what? I didn't either. So just stop saying that. We're here because we love you. And you need to, you know, he was just frustrated. He didn't want to stay in the hospital anymore or whatever. But I just want to thank everybody for your prayers. I want to let all you guys out there know why I've been neglecting my channel for the last couple weeks between Randy's brother and Christopher and just everything going on. Hopefully everything settles down now. And thank you for your love and your prayers. And I can't tell you enough how much we love and appreciate y'all. Wow. I mean, I know how many amazing people I have in my life. I know that. But when something like this happens and you have, like, I had to constantly be answering people on my phone and doing updates and stuff because they're so, the people in my life are wonderful and amazing. And I can't tell you enough how much I love y'all. And so, thank you for your love and your prayers, and I just kind of wanted to give you an update on Chris. He's doing wonderful. He's doing good. He's back to his old self. And yeah, so I'll be back to my Dollar Tree hauls and all that stuff here shortly. So just thank you for your love and prayers again, and we'll catch you in the next video. Thanks, guys.